Maga supporter, a man who decided to shoot two Minnesota lawmakers, has been arrested for murder. Put it up full mass. There was a 2-day manhunt that rattled Minnesota. It came to an end yesterday evening, ending with the arrest of 57-year-old Vance Boelter. Here are the details. The investigators had pursued the suspect, identified as Vance Boelter, 57, throughout the weekend as Minnesotans reeled from the killings of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman. In a separate attack, the gunman also wounded State Senator John H. Hoffman and his wife, Yvette Hoffman, at their home in the Minneapolis suburbs. Let's put his picture back up again. That is an actual criminal. That is a violent thug. That is a dangerous human being. That is your deplorable. That is, in fact, the worst amongst us. That right there. That's what it is. Donald Trump is not going to ship him anywhere. Trump is not going to wax poetic about how horrible this human being is. No. Those who Trump appointed to carry out our constitutional laws and protect our constitutional rights will not echo that either. The complaint against Boelter describes police officers arriving to the home of State Representative Melissa Hortman as seeing Boelter shoot her husband, Mark, through an open door. The police then exchanged gunfire with him, and he ran into the home before escaping. At some point, he also fatally shot Representative Hortman. That's interesting, isn't it? After what officials called the largest manhunt in the state's history, investigators arrested him on Sunday near Green Isle, a small town about an hour southwest of Minneapolis, where he had a home with his wife and children. For much of Sunday, tactical teams had conducted searches in the area, where investigators found a vehicle and a hat that they believed belonged to the suspect. After one officer thought he saw Mr. Boelter running into the woods, the police converged on the area, found him in a field near his home. We would call this a terrorist attack if his last name would have been Muhammad. A terrorist attack is an attack utilizing violence in order to affect a political outcome. That's what terrorism is. Why is this not terrorism? Why don't the headlines say terrorist? Well, because he's a white male. I mean, Maga would not stand for that. Yeah, this is a terrorist. This is a terrorist who decided to utilize violence in order to affect political change by actually shooting at and successfully killing a public official. Officials say the suspect was armed when he was arrested, but that no force was used in the arrest. Did you hear what I just said? Officials said that the suspect was in fact armed when he was arrested, but that no force was used in the arrest. He's still alive. He had a shootout with the police. He ran, shot more, apprehended near his home, was armed. No force needed, still alive. I'm not saying he should be dead. What I'm saying is that a whole lot of people should be alive. The gunman had impersonated a police officer during the attacks. How did he do this? By wearing a rubber mask and a bogus badge, according to the officials. He had a notebook that mentioned the names of about 70 potential targets that included both of the lawmakers. Officials said he had fired at officers responding to one of the homes before escaping. The wife of Vance Boelter, who is suspected in the Minnesota lawmaker shootings, was in a vehicle that was pulled over by law enforcement on Saturday. Passports and cash were found in the vehicle. The victims, put them up. Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman, her husband, and her husband were killed in the politically motivated shootings early Saturday. This is according to Governor Tim Walz. Hortman had served as House Speaker for 6 years when the 2024 elections cost Democrats their slim majority. She led fellow Democrats boycotting House sessions for almost a month, starting in mid-January, to prevent the GOP from using a temporary vacancy in the Democratic seat to cement control over the chamber, forcing Republicans into a power share. Another prominent area lawmaker, Senator John Hoffman, was shot and wounded alongside his wife in their home about 15 minutes away. We have footage of Boelter giving a sermon in 2021 at the DRC. Here it is.
And I'm just as excited about Jesus.
Et je suis juste excité
right
de
here,
Jésus.
right now.
Jusqu'à présent, même maintenant.
And when I get excited,
Et quand je suis excité,
I want to dance.
je veux danser.
And what Jesus did for me.
C'est que Jésus a fait pour moi.
Jesus is God.
Jésus est
Almighty
Dieu.
God.
C'est le Dieu
He
puissant.
saved my life.
Il a sauvé ma vie.
I'm excited about God.
Je suis excité de Dieu.
And I want to worship Him.
You're starting to get the picture. If anybody wants to argue this is not a cult, that individuals have not been radicalized, that these folks are not carrying out acts of domestic terrorism, your argument has no weight anymore. People who decided to serve their community filed their intent to run. Like them or not, they got elected by people. We still live in a representative form of government. Somebody decided to not only take away that human being from a family, somebody decided to take their voice away from democracy. Now that's antithetical to what we understand as normative in this nation, even though we are here. He allegedly had many more names on his hit list. The suspect arrested in the murder of Minnesota Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband reportedly left a chilling hit list of potential targets that included Senator Amy Klobuchar, Representative Omar, and the offices of multiple abortion providers. He also left a handwritten list described by police as roughly 2 pages long and containing 60 to 70 names. That's according to the Minnesota Star Tribune. This list was not alphabetized and included addresses, some targets. Representative Kelly Morrison, Democrat, as well as other members of the Democratic Farmer Labor Delegation, were among those identified. Authorities have downplayed earlier descriptions of a list as a manifesto. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans clarified it was not a sweeping ideological document, but rather a notebook of a lot of lawmakers and others, as opposed to an actual document, which I don't see the difference. His roommate describes him as a Trump supporter, for those who are wondering why we call him MAGA supporter. Here it is.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to clarify.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. So, but he, because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such things.
All right, Jackson, thoughts here.
So, there's just so much to take from this whole incident. First and foremost, as you pointed out, I mean, there's no effective way to pretend like this is not a nationwide cult going on, because, I mean, put yourself in this man's shoes. In order for you to make this hit list and go through all this detailed, intricate, slow grind planning to make it happen, how committed you are to the plot, how much of a true believer you are. Like, you really think that this is gonna set us right. This is gonna get us back on the track that God always had destined and ordained for the American people. And we're gonna get our country back and we're gonna get it back. Like, these people really believe this type of stuff. But, at the end of the day, one of Trump's biggest issues, America's issue at large, but Trump in particular, is I've been saying this for quite some time. I still think he's gonna end up the ultimate scapegoat for everything that's getting ready to transpire. I mean, like, at the end of the day, what has he done for any of us lately? This man has, him and Elon gone after programs like Meals on Wheels. Among everything else in the administrative state that just generally gives the public some stability and some access to climb the social ladder or just stay above water if they can. The tariffs, as you pointed out in the last show I was on, the tariffs that he's got going, eventually that's going to crash the economy. We're almost certainly about to go to war with Iran because Israel is. So because Israel's going to war with Iran, America's going to war with them. And we've been wanting to go to war with Iran for as long as I've been alive, at least. So that's going to cause worldwide economic issues. So, it's like they're doing all this chaotic craziness is going on for a game show host who's really just destroying the country at the end of the day. And it's unfortunate, but it's real life.
It's real life. And that's why we have to stay on top of it and report it. We bring you updates as they come.